Hello everybody! It's me, your favorite sheep from outer space, with videos that are usually for your face. If you're watching this, then you've probably seen my video series on original species in the furry fandom, and you think they're cool and creative. Now you want to try making your own, but where do you start? I have a few tips in this video here that will help you create a furry fandom species of your own, as well as an awesome tip at the end that will help even more. All of these tips that I'm about to tell you, I've seen used by successful species with large active communities, but that last one is a super important one, so make sure you stick around to see it to the end or just skip ahead, but without the context of the other tips, that last tip isn't really going to do you any good. Tip 1. Make sure it's easy to draw. The most successful and viral of the species are the ones that are easy to draw. Despite how difficult it is to get through the Mochi Raptor amino page and how badly organized it is, there are people still making them. That's because they're cute and simple to draw. Remember Squirmal or Worm on a String personas? These got popular because of how goofy they are, but also because they're very easy to draw. You just draw a snake and add fur. If your species is easier to draw, you might attract a younger artist crowd, but people always have a special attachment to their early fandoms, so these people will probably grow and stay with the fandom along with the fandom. Tip 2. Make it stylistically appealing. Vernids might not be simple, but they have a striking, rough, and demented appearance. Wickerbeasts do too. They're great at drawing a crowd that is into this kind of appearance. Think about who your species would appeal to, and try leaning into that a little bit more than you normally might. When talking to Leli Rai from Vernids, they told me that they viewed their Vernids as gross little grungy weirdos, and you can really get that from their appearance. You can tell that these are some, they're some weird looking dudes. What started as dogs plus dragons quickly turned into a unique creature that doesn't look anything like its canid or draconic origins. Tip number 3. Make variants. People have different tastes in character design, and while a species like Wickerbeast might check the boxes for someone who likes a fuzzy demon kind of appearance, they also have variations for people who like something that stands out in different ways. There aren't many aquatic personas out there because it's not always easy to make a fish into a furry. Sharks only just got popular in the fandom in the past couple of decades. Maybe consider a aquatic variant like swamp wickerbeasts, but it's super important that you do them as their own variants with their own unique themes. Mochi Raptors, for example, have a ton of different traits like bugs and fish, and don't really have rules against putting them on the same mochi. A mochi with cockroach wings and octopus tails is okay, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? Mochi Raptors could be a much more stylistically consistent species if they took the weirder traits and put them as their own unique variant. Don't think about your variant as, what if I took my species and added wings? Think about, how would they look if they evolved to need these traits? Would they need to be lighter, or need feathers to accommodate flight? Do they actually need to fly, or do they just glide? Don't just tack things on because they look cool. Build around the idea of those things that you want to add, then make it its own variant. Tip 4. Make lore. Tell people why your species is great, and why they want to make this species as their next character. It doesn't have to be super original, but it has to be interesting. Think about the Celestial Guardian Dragons video. The lore isn't super original, but Chloe does a great job telling you the lore of her species through a creation myth and stories of how her species evolved. You don't need to go as far as Tiva's, you don't need to invent an alphabet, but a creation myth is a great start. And maybe think about how they fit into their world. What do they eat? How do they interact? How is their society different from our own? Alright, before we get to tip number 5, the banger tip. People tell me my content is underrated, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe so we can get me to overrate it instead. Tip 5. You need to think about why you're making this species. A lot of the species I've covered were created by people when they were kids and just screwing around, like Tibas and Vernids. Like some say with making a YouTube channel, if you're doing this to make money, you will find yourself getting burnt out pretty quickly. Find out your reasons for making this species, and use that as your fuel or drive to make this species. Work your passions into the art, and don't worry if it seems cringe, build from there. Cringe has honesty to it. It's a part of you that is your raw likes and interests without the filters of societies coming in. A lot of these species weren't made intentionally. Wicker was made entirely by accident. Tebow was a kid screwing around on his family computer. And Vernids were a kid doodling dragons and dogs all day. Ask why you're doing it and use that in your work. So what do you think? What tip was your favorite? Comment below, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I always read all of my comments. But for now, make sure to subscribe for more original species content like tips and species spotlights, and I'll see you all next time. Also, if you get the time, check out my Twitch and gaming YouTube. We're almost to 1,000 subs on youtube.com/SeraProto. But that's it for now. Bye.